So, hi everybody, I'm Dr. Natalie Cort. I am a professor at William James College and in the clinical psychology department. I'm also the co-director of the Center for Multicultural and Global Mental Health. And in that capacity, I am delighted to welcome you to tonight's evening, where we're going to really be focusing on gratitude, on hope, on resilience. We're going to take some time to reflect on this past year. And we're also going to take an opportunity to highlight the diversity within our WJC community and without, and also celebrate our brand new Asian mental health program. So we have a full and rich event planned for you this evening. So we thank you for being here. I'd like to just start off by acknowledging that we're gathering this evening at a time in which our country continues to reel as a consequence of this global pandemic that we're all struggling to survive. And because of the experience of significant racial unrest over the past year, we've had election crises, we've had an insurrection. There's a lot that has left us shaken. There's a lot that's left us feeling really disconnected from each other. And hopefully tonight we come away feeling more connected, come away feeling more empowered, come away feeling more enriched. That is our hope. I want to highlight that this is an evening that focuses on how strong, how powerful, and how affirming diversity is and connection is. So it's really about us celebrating love, love for our identities, and love for each other. So before we get started, I'd like to ask if we could just take a moment of silence to recognize the over 400,000 bright lights that have been dimmed way too early as a consequence of the COVID pandemic. Lives that I'm sure were defined by big dreams and hope and courage and compassion. So if you can join me in taking a moment to remember those bright lights and their families whose worlds will be forever different. Okay. Thank you. I would like to invite the other directors of the Center for Multicultural and Global Mental Health, my co-director, Dr. Jill Bloom, to say a couple of words, and Dr. Benassar, if you're here, to say a couple of words. Tonight's event is being co-sponsored and co-hosted by the Center for Multicultural and Global Mental Health, as well as the Dean of Students Office and the Asian Mental Health Program. So really, really delighted by this partnership. Dr. Bloom?
Yeah, thank you. I'm really delighted to see so many people here, and really what a wonderful program and a time for us to kind of take in, as Dr. Cort was saying, the all that we have endured during this year, but at the same time, all that we have to be grateful for. And in the 5 years that the Center for Multicultural Global Mental Health has been in existence, it is really such a wonderful, wonderful time to have launched this spring the Asian Mental Health Program with our wonderful Dr. Catherine Vuky. So I'm really just delighted to see you all, to be here, to have this time together, to really acknowledge all the work we've done together, and to kind of celebrate that, as well as pause to reflect on what a difficult year it's been. So thanks.
Dr. Benassar? Or you're muted.
Hi, and welcome to everybody. I'm Mari Carmen Benassar. I see a lot of a lot of familiar faces that I love to see. So welcome. I echo the nice words of Dr. Cort of how difficult this year has been and how wonderful it is to be together, knowing that connecting with respected and loved ones. It's just help us, each one of us. So I look forward to tonight. Thank you.
Meridith? And Dr. Vuky?
I needed to unmute myself. Thank you, Dr. Cort. I'm Meridith Apfelbaum, the Assistant Dean of Students here at William James College, and I'm so excited for this evening. I have a few planned remarks, and I'm going to start off with a few quotes, because I love quotes. Who doesn't love a good quote? Art washes away from the soul the dust of everyday life. Pablo Picasso. Poetry is what in a poem makes you laugh, cry, prickle, be silent, makes your toenails twinkle, makes you want to do this or that or nothing, makes you know that you are alone in the unknown world, that your bliss and suffering is forever shared and forever all your own. Dylan Thomas. Everything in the universe has a rhythm. Everything dances. Maya Angelou. And finally, my favorite, I don't sing because I'm happy because I sing. William James said that. Of all these quotes, or all of these quotes express that there is a universal healing power to the arts. It doesn't matter what culture you come from or how old you are. We're all emotionally moved when we hear a song, see a painting or a photograph, or witness the dramatic reading of a poem. It is our hope that as we progress through this evening's program, you are genuinely moved by what you are seeing and hearing. And speaking about what you'll be hearing, I wanted to take the opportunity tonight to announce that starting this semester, we will be launching a new WJC student group entitled Music and Psychology. The mission of this group is as follows. Music and Psychology is a group that works to combine two passions, music and psychology. Whether you are a musician, lover of music, or curious about music therapy, this group aims to support further learning and creativity within the WJC student community. The group is looking to create music, learn music therapy skills to implement into practice, and share their gifts with others inside and outside the WJC community. No music experience is necessary. If you love music and psychology but don't know about music therapy, please join us. This group will be led by William James College Clinical Psyche students Ashley Phillips and Nicole Poulter. Both are board-certified music therapists and passionate about music, and lucky for all of us, they will be performing on tonight's program. I also have the great pleasure of serving as the staff advisor to this group. So if there are any WJC students present this evening that would like to get involved with this group, please reach out to either Nicole, Ashley, or myself, and we'll give you further information. Our first group meeting will be next Thursday, February 4th at 7 p.m. via Zoom. And speaking of Zoom, in the spirit of tonight's program, an evening of gratitude, hope, and reflection, we encourage you all to take advantage of the chat feature and share with us something that you're grateful for or that resonates with you about what you're seeing or hearing tonight. It might be a song that makes you feel hopeful, words that move you, or a piece of art that speaks to you. You're also welcome to share any questions you might have about the music, the art, or the poetry. We'll reflect on your shared comments and answer questions at the end of the evening after all the performances are done. I'm now going to pass the virtual mic over to my amazing colleague, Dr. Catherine Vuky.
Thank you, Meridith. Welcome, everyone. So I'm Dr. Catherine Vuky. I am a professor in the Clinical Psyche program and the director of the Asian Mental Health Program. Every time I say, I feel like I need to raise my hand and say, woohoo! So I'm very, very excited to be here tonight to celebrate with all of you words of gratitude and thankfulness. So I can have to say that it's just been an amazing journey, starting from last year to really put this concentration together and then really have it start up this semester. So this is, and some of you might know, this is the first clinical graduate program in the country with a emphasis on Asian mental health. We are the first. And and we have amazing students that are the first year to start off this cohort this year. You know, when we first started thinking about it, like, could we even talk about, there's so many big Asian countries. And I keep saying this, but Asia is the largest continent in the world. There are 49 countries. How do we do that? How do we do justice to 49 countries? And so it's been an amazing process to talk to students, faculty, community members who have such an investment to get this program off and running. And so we came together and shared the mission. And so one of the most important mission here is to train students, to train you guys who are interested in Asian mental health, to learn how to be good clinicians, culturally competent, appropriate clinicians for the various Asian communities. And so I'm very excited to be the one to put this all together. One of the things I love also is that students have been part of this at every single level. Students, their voices have been heard. And I wanted to share two highlights of this program. So as I said, we launched the Asian Mental Health last year, just about a year ago, around the Lunar New Year. And then we had our first Asian intro course this semester, this spring. And I can't tell you, we have 10 students, and what a amazing experience has been just for the few classes we've had where the students are saying, wow, I've never been in a class with so many other Asian students, and we're actually talking about Asian culture. And so I have a few of the students here, and I wanted to invite a couple of them to speak about their experience. And so I'm going to call on Matt Fortino first, if you'd like to share a few words on what it's been like to be in this concentration in the class.
Sure. Thanks, Dr. Vuky. I'd be happy to say a couple of things. So where to begin? Well, we've been granted this opportunity to really explore elements of the Asian culture and the Asian experience in the United States. So in doing so, I've personally been contending with the past and been realizing that oftentimes it's been overlooked and sometimes neglected. Now, in each class, I find myself in a setting where I can really appreciate and understand the context that was omitted from the history that I was taught. A context that's shaped the lives of so many Asian Americans, a context that dictates the social determinants of health for so many. Now, I've been given a chance to really explore my own sense of self, the personal and the professional, aspects of my identity that are formative in my training to become a psychologist. I'm under the impression that I'll be taking this knowledge with me. And really, how can you not when it's a part of who you are? We're, maybe 3 classes in at this point, and we've already covered so much territory. It's a long journey in reclaiming our seat at the table, to be included in a larger discussion. And I hope that we can extend this experience to others, as there's a common thread where we have more that unites us than what sets us apart. So overall, I'd like to express my gratitude to Dr. Vuky, to my peers, and to the Multicultural and Global Mental Health Center of Excellence for the opportunity to be a part of this class. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. I would like to invite Christine. Christine, are you here?
Yep, I'm right here. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for hosting this incredible event. And thank you, Dr. Vuky, for thank you and your students for jumpstarting this concentration. As an Indian woman, it's pretty groundbreaking to be in this field. Being the daughter of immigrants and being discouraged to be in this field, just out of protection and safety. To see that William James has this concentration available, to allow me to just be okay with being an Indian practitioner and what that means, has just been absolutely incredible. And then being in our class, even though it's just been 3 classes, being with other Asian students and even learning the content is so, it has been nothing short of healing and restorative, because I have never sat in a class like this ever, where my history, the history of that very well could have been my ancestors, is being talked about and being acknowledged. And so we're just 3 classes in, and I cannot wait for the rest of the classes and for the end of the semester, and to help just this concentration just bloom in full, in all of its fullness and entirety. And I just can't wait, and I'm so absolutely grateful, and I am ready to be a trailblazer in this field. I have a long road, but we all do, I'm sure, but I'm so ready for it. And thank you all so much.
Thank you, Christine. And so I hope, like, other students are very interested in just join the intro class, because again, we're hearing a history that students said they have never heard about, Angel Island or the Exclusion Act, you know, and they're just, and that Asians are advocates, and they were very active in the civil rights movement. And so it's eye-opening. It's like, and so we're not going to be silenced anymore. And so it's been really enriching just 3 classes in. And it's also very important that although we know that ethnic match, therapists and patients are very effective in therapy, but there is such a huge shortage of practitioners. We need everyone to be able to see, you know, people of all ethnic groups. And so if you're interested, please join the class, and that you would be very helpful in providing appropriate care to Asian communities. So that's one big highlight I want, but I want to share something else. And so last year, the Asian Mental Health Program received a small grant, and what we decided to do was to create a parent guide for Asian parents or parents with Asian children to have discussions around racism. And this was around the time of xenophobia. As the pandemic was happening, we heard that, you know, China virus, or that Chinese were eating bats. And so I saw in my clinic an uptick of referrals for adolescents coming in with suicidal self-harm behavior. And it was very common. They were being bullied and teased, saying, "You're dirty, you eat bats, you brought the virus over." And they turned to hurting themselves. And then when I turned to the parents, they just were at a loss what to say to their children. And it was very poignant. One mom said to me, "What am I supposed to say? It's true, isn't it? It did come from China." And so it was a shared sense of hopelessness and helplessness. And so from that, you know, we thought about how do we create a guide just to have conversations for parents to talk to their children. And I'm hoping I am able to share this. Okay, so I wanted to actually, everyone, this is the debut of the parent guide. So you are the first to see this. Let me see if I can do this. Uh-oh. Hold on.
Press the play button on the top right.
That one?
Yeah.
Thank you, Ellen. See, my students are wondering, wait, uh-oh, it's not working. Okay, here we go. Okay. Can everyone see this? All right, so if you can, so we're doing it on, so we're doing a PDF format, but also it's can be interactive. We're hoping to be able to format it so that people can download it. But what you will see, sorry, why is this? Okay, here we go. Is the guide to parents of Asian American adolescents, and as COVID-19 has dramatically impacted our Asian community. And so the question is, how are you and your children talking about racism? And so we first wanted to get a checklist up, just like, you know, parents, have you experienced this where you're told to go back where you came from? Has someone implied that Asian food was dirty or unsafe? Are you concerned about physical safety in public? And it goes on. So we wanted parents to start thinking about these questions. And the end is saying, possibly your children have been experiencing the same thing, okay? And what we thought was very important was that to show a history of the anti-Asian discrimination in the United States. Many immigrants are not aware of it. So if they're not aware of it, they may not understand why their children are coming and saying that they're facing racism and discrimination. And so these were some of the highlights of different anti-Asian discrimination in the US. And then at the same time, what we want to do was, again, to show that Asians have stood up for themselves and fought back. So we thought it was a very important timeline to show that, that there are times when Asians would strike for higher wages, better living situations, and they did win. So I think this was very important as well. And then we talked about why, from the research, why it's important for parents to talk to their children about racism, right? For better emotional health, physical health, all of that. And saying that silence hurts our kids. I'm just going through this really fast, so quickly, because I want to get to everything else. And that, conversations are very helpful in healing, and that it could have more positive outcomes for your children. So again, we wanted parents to be a part of this conversation with their children. And we were telling Asian parents, you are very important in your children's life, right? About teaching them customs, traditions, and language. And this is all equally very important. We wanted to make that emphasis that it's okay if you don't know all the answers, because a lot of times the Asian parents would say, oh, I don't want to traumatize them. I don't want to bring up something they may not be talking about or thinking about. And we're saying, they're pretty much thinking about it. They just don't know who to talk to. The other thing we're saying is that, parents, we didn't want parents to just talk at their children, right? Parents, like, we always talk at them, and we were like, please listen, spend this time just to listen. And so again, we were making suggestions about that. So a reminder of don't react, don't judge, keep your face neutral, calm, right? Because don't we react to the expressions first? And so it's really just like, listen. You don't always have to have an answer, but just being able to listen. And I love this page because these are actual quotes from adolescents and teenagers that I saw in my clinic. And I said, hey, if you wanted to talk to your parents, what would you want them to ask? They're saying, oh, this would be great. If they asked me these questions, I would definitely talk to them. Okay. So again, this was very much of an effort from the community because these are the voices of the adolescents coming through. And then we gave them additional resources. All right. And the most special part, I know I went through very quickly, guys. The most special part about this is that we translated this into various languages. So, and again, this is all student driven. I can pull that one up. Here we go. Can everyone see this? Okay, so it was translated into Vietnamese, Japanese, Korean, and Chinese. And so this is all up now on our WJC website, and we're hoping to run focus groups and start utilizing it and getting feedback from parents if this is helpful or not. So this is very exciting, and I wanted to give a shout out to Ellen, who is our student leader in Asian mental health, but she created this. I gave her a task and she picked up the app and created it, and it's been an unbelievable process. And there are many students here in the Asian concentration that provided the translation. So this is starting of something, and we're going to build from there. So thank you for letting me share that.
Woo! So exciting! Thank you so much.
That was amazing. Thank you, Dr. Vuky. We are going to now move into the performance/celebration part of our evening. And it is my great pleasure to introduce our first student performer of the evening, Ashley Phillips. Ashley is a first-year student in our PsyD and clinical psychology program with an emphasis in global mental health. When asked what she has been grateful for over the past 10 months during this pandemic, Ashley mentioned that she is most grateful for her supportive friendships and new connections. Tonight, she will be performing Rise Up by Andra Day. I now pass a virtual mic over to Ashley Phillips.
I'm not going to say much other than a Zoom audience is just as nerve-wracking as a regular audience. And I'm not going to say much because I think this song speaks for itself. So here we go. Might want to turn the piano on. Broken down and tired of living life on a merry-go-round, and you can't find the fighter, but I see it in you, so we're gonna walk it out and move mountains. We're gonna walk it out and move mountains. And I'll rise up, I'll rise like the day, I'll rise up, I'll rise unafraid, I'll rise up, and I'll do it 1,000 times again. And I'll rise up, high like the waves, I'll rise up, in spite of the ache, I'll rise up, and I'll do it 1,000 times again. For you, for you, for you. The silence isn't quiet, and it feels like it's getting hard to breathe. And I know you feel like dying, but I promise we'll take the world to its feet and move mountains, bring the world to its feet and move mountains. And I'll rise up, I'll rise like the day, I'll rise up, I'll rise unafraid, I'll rise up, and I'll do it 1,000 times again. For you, for you, for you. All we need is hope, and for that we have each other, and for that we have each other. We will rise, we will rise, we will rise, oh, 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 we will rise. And I'll rise up, I'll rise like the day, I'll rise up, in spite of the ache, I will rise 1,000 times again, and we'll rise up, high like the waves, we'll rise up, in spite of the ache, we'll rise up, and we'll do it 1,000 times again. For you, for you, for you, for you.
Rise up.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh, that was incredible, Ashley. Thank you so much for sharing your beautiful voice with us.
Thank you for letting me and inviting me. I appreciate it.
Oh, thank you. Oh my goodness gracious. um, we have wonderful students at William James College. I think that our school is defined by incredibly generous, talented, committed individuals. And as a professor, it's just such a joy to have an opportunity to connect and to witness our students' greatness. So thank you, Ashley. I'd like to also introduce now a really incredible person, Adetutu Ajibose. Adetutu has been a student leader her entire time at William James College. She's a fifth-year student in our clinical psychology program. So that means she's soon to be a doctor in clinical psychology, just a few more months to go. And we have been delighted by the way in which Adetutu has shown up with her incredible zeal for this field and particularly for global mental health. Her interests have led her to an emphasis in our concentration focused on children and family who've experienced adversity, as well as to our African and Caribbean mental health program. So she's developing two areas of specialization. We're really proud of that. Adetutu's also been a leader and a pioneering scholar in the Black Mental Health Graduate Academy. She shared that she's incredibly grateful that she's recently had the opportunity to visit her home, her family in Nigeria this past December, and that she feels abundantly blessed with the opportunity to witness her brother and her older sister having an opportunity to actually meet with their father for the first time after 15 years. It was an emotional and heartwarming event, she shares. It also provided her with the opportunity to visit her grandmother's grave for the first time and to process the loss with her loved ones. In addition to that, when asked what she feels grateful for, Adetutu shared with us that her NGO, which she began, which is entitled Toward the Light Foundation, was able to successfully organize 2 workshops in Nigeria. One workshop, which was attended by 30 widows, focused on the mental health challenges that they're experiencing, oftentimes silently. The second workshop focused on helping young girls, 35 young girls, think and build their self-esteem. It helped them address issues of colorism that oftentimes impacts their self-esteem. And it's a trip that was made in the midst of a pandemic, and we're so grateful that Tutu and her family all remained safe as she did this really incredible work. So Tutu, thank you for all that you've done for WJC with your spoken word, with your poetry, with your academic excellence. So I'll turn it over to you now.
Thank you, Dr. Cort. So good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me here. It is a pleasure to be here today and to hear and to share a spoken word that aims to truly highlight aspects of past and current events This poem was written in light of this event to celebrate an evening of gratitude, hope, and reflection. Additionally, I wrote this poem in honor of the upcoming Black History Month to commemorate our past and fallen heroes. The title of this poem is Toward the Light. I hope you enjoy it. In this cave, darkness embraced us. Like a knee to a neck, panic submerged us, leaving solemn thoughts, questions. How did we get here? Invoking oral traditions, vivid recollections of how some crossed borders, crawled on four limbs through deserts to find bats and waters in this cave. Because the promise of water and darkness was better than drought. The promise of trying was better than the fear of falling or drowning. Survival. Stories of violence, of some being hunted from primitive lands, chained and abused, to be thrown in this cave. Some born here, indigents, but lost like the rest of us. In this cave, we bargained, begged to find a path that would lead us to light. We cried to be rescued by our oppressors, like you, reaching for a registration, and he reaches for a gun, like you, yelling, please don't shoot. And he says, you made me do it. We bargained to return liberty to its statue, scrubbed floors our ancestors built, race children recycled to oppress us. We hurt. Pain beyond the physical. We hurt. The burden of a sunken heart and the strength of a warrior. We dared to hope. And on the 16th, rays of light shone through openings too high to reach. Illusions of emancipation proclaimed. Yet we dared to dream of liberation, of life outside this darkness, of a nation where rebel flags are lowered. Like King, we dared to dream of a nation where a Black man becomes the voice of his nation, James Baldwin, where a Black girl grows to be the sole congresswoman, Shirley Chisholm, and another, a billionaire activist, Madam C.J. Walker, Oprah. We dared to dream of literature, Frederick Douglass, W.E.B. Du Bois, Maya Angelou, Toni Morrison, Zora Neale Hurston. We dared to dream of using our voices to speak up, like Jesse Jackson, Malcolm X. We moved heavy rocks along the way in this cave, found small openings to take in oxygen, and sacred places to bury bones. In this cave, we journeyed, hit roadblocks, and on the 44th, we saw it, an opening in the distance, and light shone through the end of the tunnel, and we released a breath of gratitude as we pressed on. Determination replaced fatigue, hope restored, promises of unity, of a life filled with sunlight and equity and equality. We ran until the 45th. Tsunamis, hurricanes, pandemics shook this cave, blocking the once clear exit. It was like pouring water in a basket, emptiness, a hit and a run, hopelessness, crushing waves, anger, and discord set in. While in this cave, darkness embraced us. Like a python does its prey, it forced us to respond, find means to survive, to breathe. In this cave, darkness served its purpose, Cunningly, it led us to light, unveiled truths like those the insurrection unmasked. Darkness served its purpose, like raindrops exposes buried rocks. Darkness unveiled privilege and told us that those they call darkness, those with melanin shades from ebony to mocha, coca to honey, almond to espresso, could not storm the Capitol and be free to speak. Those with skin that glistens in the sun and glows in the moonlight could not storm the Capitol and live to breathe. In this cave, we met validation. We voted and lived to see the 46th, a new dawn, resurgence of positive energy, to move rocks of blockage of the Muslim ban, racist constructions of border walls, rocks of mass incarceration, to move enough rocks to reborn democracy, to create an opening wide enough to exit. So here we are on the other side, finally feeling the sun against our skins, taking a moment of gratitude, yet remembering the big rocks that were too heavy to move. Rocks of racism, hate, poverty, inequality, and police brutality still exist. But in this moment, mindfulness wins. In this moment, reflection wins. In this moment, gratitude wins. On the other side of this cave, we celebrate a victory, the presence of light. Thank you.
Whew.
Woo! Good job.
Wow, that is incredibly powerful. Oh my goodness. Thank you, Tutu, for your beautiful, beautiful words. I think like most everybody else, just so touched by just the poignant beauty of those words that reflect, I think, a lot of what we've been experiencing and feeling. So thank you.
Thank you.
So now I'll introduce our next student. It's my pleasure to introduce Xinru Tina Wang. She's a first-year clinical PsyD program, student PsyD program. She's in the Asian mental health concentration. She said she was grateful for being able to live and move forward with her prospective career during the pandemic. And she has created 2 beautiful art pieces that she'll be sharing with us tonight.
Hi guys, thank you for having me tonight. Thank you for the introduction, Dr. Vuky. So my name is Tina. I'm a first year here, and also I'm a 1.5 generation of immigrants here in the United States. I moved here while I was around 10 years old. So basically, first when Dr. Vuky was introducing me, that she's planning on relaunching the Asian mental health program, and that she's wishing me to like just draw something that's related to the relaunching of this program. Basically, the first idea that appeared in my head was about this this concept that's translated to be so-called hot and noisy. In Chinese, it's called 热闹. In Cantonese, it's 热闹. In Japanese, it's called nigiaga. And in Korean, it's called ponohada. So to be fair, I don't know Cantonese or Korean, but went on in the way that I was doing research on many of those terminologies and what they mean to us, I find that there's a lot of similarities Asian countries do share. And one of them appears to me is this concept that it's hot and noisy, yet it's not necessarily negative. It's more about positive environment that everyone may gather up together to celebrate their own cultures and their power of cultures. So from that end, I'm going to be sharing my screen with my artwork, but at first I would just get it out of the way. I would just have to share this indication real quick about what is it in my artwork, just so that maybe it'll be beneficial for you all to match it up with my artwork that I'll be showing real quick. But I just figured that this is, I mean, it looks like the Zoom chat is limiting my words, so I'm cutting things down, sorry. Perfect. Okay, not so perfect, but whatever. Okay, I'm just going to write ETC here. Okay, so I'll be start sharing. So with that concept of bringing Asian cultures as this way of being really hot and noisy, this is what I was trying to get at first. I know it's a little strap, but trust me, I don't know what's going on here either. And then it slowly turns into this, and then eventually turns into this. So it's a part of my tendency of filling out the whole piece, but I did consider taking them into 3 different sections. One section being the landscape section, where I basically use this really familiar, kind of the old style oil paint type of color to resonate that type of like just Asian cultures as this a big bundle of traditions and beautiful views. And with the night sky, I actually enjoy night sky more, just because I'm from, well, I mean, I'm from this really modernized city in China, and then I was told to come here, and then I ended up going to California, which there was no buildings. And with my childhood movie, my favorite childhood movie being Home Alone, for many years, I thought it was false advertisement of the United States. So that was really salty on that part. More or less, I do enjoy night view a lot more in terms of having the modernized cities. So that's how I chose these colors to reflect just how things are really significant. They really stand out every night in the cities of many Asian countries. And then in front of us with the dining table, I actually took the attempt of using my nostalgic feeling as a child to draw this, because as a child, what I remember is that this is one of the most this is one of my favorites. The things that I drew more frequently than others when I was little, because in my context, really the Asian culture was about families sitting around together and then sharing a big pot. If you were to think about it as any other cultures, how crazy could that be if people are sharing the same pot? People are literally, they're having their chopsticks, they're reaching into the same pot, they're sharing that feeling that they're eating together, like really by staying together, it means like physically and mentally together. So it tends to be one of the beauties that I find within my own culture. So to break it down, I know that I have listed all the names in the chat, so feel free to use them as a reference. A couple of things I do like to mention specifically is, so one of them is about the landscape scenes of the mountain along with the Bay Area. I gave them names because I took certain places as references, but rather, really, if you were to look into Asia, look into all those photos, there's so many more places that look just as stunning as they are with the places that I have mentioned. It's just a fact. And most importantly for myself, I guess, is that that mountain shape that's kind of in the background, that's like into the distance. That mountain shape I took is from pictures of Guilin in China, and also this one of the 5 most popular mountains in China called Huangshan. So specifically with that Huangshan, I went there ever since my 5 years old. I have been traveling there with my parents. At first, I couldn't understand what's the importance of, going to climb mountains and then see the sightseeing and everything. It was until then my mother, she actually told me a story of her early life when she was really depressed that she was hoping to die. She honestly retrieved her goal of living in that mountain. And it's really hidden in the picture, I should say, but it's something that's simply really meaningful to me. And just by looking at the shape of it, it means a lot more. So I determined to bring that in, even though it wasn't there for my earlier plan. It wasn't there. Also because it was too crowded. Like, this is not okay. So I decided to, to throw a lot of things out of my window. And so that's that from the landscape view. And then just in terms of the dining table and everything that's within. First of all, there's this Chinese character that has actually been paced up and down. It's called Fu. It means happiness. And when we taped it up upside down, it means that the happiness is dropping on us. As a child, I couldn't understand because I was already in elementary school. So I was kind of ashamed that I don't know any characters that means significant enough for me. So I asked my parents, being like, what is this? And they were like, oh, it's just like, the happiness, but it's upside down. So I was like, oh. So that was one of the earliest perception change for me in my life. And that was really cool. And on the table, really, the setup of the table, it resembles of my childhood, including the place that I'm not sure if any of you is familiar with that place can actually like move. I believe that there are a lot of Chinese restaurants doing that right now too. And as a child in our early years, having a movable plate with things just randomly coming to you, it was like a blast. It was about us trying to wait for others because we do need to consider if other people are grabbing their food while trying to wait for our next turn when it comes to us. So it was a lot of, now that I think about it, there were a lot of collaboration that has been put into this act of eating together. And that was the part of the Asian cultures that I really admire and I miss to this day. And speaking of the food on the table, I'm a biased person when it comes to food. I hope that some of you are too. So I chose my favorite food. I prioritized them. They're really significant. And I love all of them, including the boba. And also here, Xiao Mai is actually the food from my hometown. It's something that we eat growing up. So I'm not sure if there's any questions because I can't really see.
We'll leave the
Thank you.
questions for the end.
Yeah, perfect. Okay. So this is my piece as of now. This is done digitally. So basically I didn't buy any expensive, affordable, like materials. I will hope for that. But for now, this will be my best view of Asia as this big collective pot of people just celebrating the best of themselves all together. And regardless of how noisy it is, quote unquote noisy it is, it still means something. And then by having people gathering up together, you know, there is a lot that's difficult to be explained into words. It's just the feeling of being together that matters for many generations of Asians, I believe. So this is my current view. While in my high school, so the second piece that I will be showing is actually my from my AP art portfolio when I was a high school student. So when I was about like, I guess, maybe 17, 18. So it's right here. So for this piece, it was done by crayons, by the way. So for this piece, while the colors are still really out there because of the flags color, it resembles something completely differently about myself and how I view the world as. So first of all, having the legs being tied with red, it kind of resembles, I think, the like, you know, the so-called being tied by blood in terms of Asian related languages, that no matter how I change, I will still be an Asian. With the blue dripping onto the person's head, it's kind of like my ideologies are already shaped. And then seeing this figure being really passive, holding their hands bounding together and just not taking any actions, that resembles of me when I was having all the identity crisis. It was hard to be a 1.5 generation of Asian Americans. It has always been hard. For many years, struggles continue. Well, who am I going to be? What type of friend am I having? Whether or not I really need to show people that I eat with chopsticks in school. And for many years, really, there was a lot of resentment of being an Asian, of being a person with multiple cultures at the same time, because it simply is hard. I mean, it is. I understand that it is hard to imagine, but for me particularly, it was like a lot of resentments in ways of, why am I here? What do I deserve to have this? Why am I competing with other people in English, a language that I don't even know when I came here, with others being that English is already their native language? And why am I required to try harder than many people out there to try to prove myself, to try to show that I exist? There's a lot of things around it, and also with my accent. The familiar question that I guess a lot of my peers, along with myself, we are all getting: where do you actually from? Like, where do your parents from? I mean, it was, so for this piece particular in my high school, that type of resentment and that type of hatred towards my own culture kind of swallowed my dignity and my self-esteem. A lot of times I don't know how to act quote unquote normally and I don't know how to treat people like, and I don't know how, like, who I'm supposed to be. So by the end of the day, jumping from this type of resisted, passive feelings towards the goal where I am more and more comfortable with my skin color, with the native language I use, with being who I am. It is fascinating, and it makes me to be really grateful of what I have been through. And by all means, on the other side of the story, people are still experiencing all this every single day. I can't imagine how teenagers are doing nowadays, being called by having the Chinese virus. Well, they're already struggling. Like, I personally just think that this is insane. So, I mean, there's a lot of pain, and then honestly, to the end of the day, it really feels like nobody knows the right answer. And I feel like everyone has their right answer. And for me in particularly, the right answer is really to embrace my identity, to feel proud of who I was and who I am, to be proud of having to miss the feelings that I can eat together with family members and friends, to be proud of the fact that I'm able to use chopsticks without struggling too much, and to be, yeah, just to be proud of who I am. And that has been something that I'm really, really grateful for. Thank you.
Ah. Thank you, Tina. When she first showed that to me, I was just blown away just with the sketch. And then as she put it all together, and then when she told me the story, it was so moving, and she beautifully was able to share that with us tonight. So thank you again, Tina. And this is why I'm so grateful for this concentration, that these are the stories that can come out, and they're learning about themselves, and then being feeling comfortable about their identity. So thank you again for being so willing to share and being vulnerable to us. And so I need to pull up my thing. So I wanted to share a reflection that I wrote this past year that was entitled The 45th Anniversary of the Fall of Saigon. And how this came about was, so April 30th, and it was just at the start or beginning for us of the pandemic. We were shutting down, people were scared, they were so uncertain. And so around this time anyways, every year, I work in a community health center, and majority of my patients are Vietnamese refugees. And so time and time again, as April rolls around, it's a very emotional time for my patients and also for my parents. And so it just kind of collided during this time. And, 45 years is a big anniversary. And usually there will be news stations talking about it, interviewing Vietnamese community members, documentaries coming out. And this year it was just silent. Given the pandemic. And I was looking, and on that day, there was only one news station or one article that carried the remembrance of Fall of Saigon. So as a result, I started writing this reflection. I want to share parts of it with you today. So I was born towards the end of the Vietnam War. I came into the world early at 8 months in a hospital that had been bombed and was cleared of all patients except for my mom. The doctors did not think I would survive that night, but they didn't tell her since it was the eve of Lunar New Year, and sharing bad news was considered bad luck. Luck was on my side then, but my family's fortunes were a little more mixed in the years to follow. I was a toddler when I left Vietnam. We attempted to escape 3 times before we were successful, first having been scheduled to leave Vietnam on April 22nd, 1975. My family of 15, including my mom, myself, and siblings, boarded a bus to leave later on by boat. The bus driver and other families complained it was not fair that the bus was full of my family on board. My mom and aunt felt pressured, disembarked, and went home. Our second attempt was on April 30th, 1975. My mom took my siblings and me to an army base where they were airlifting families out of Vietnam. We were on the airplane and ready to depart, but my father did not arrive on time. Thus, mom took us off the plane. As we made our way down the steps, pushing through the crowds of people who were trying to board, mom tripped, dropped me, and I rolled down the rest of the way down the plank. My father informed mom we could not live under communist rule, and he decided that we would all die by poison. My mom told my father she needed some time alone to pray. She took a walk and asked God whether his will was for my family to die now. If so, she would accept it. However, if he had other plans for us, to give her a sign. As she made her way home, a stranger approached her and told her to go down to the river to meet a man who had important information. My mom was scared, but believed this was possibly the sign from God. The man turned out to be her older brother, who secured a fishing boat for all of us to escape. The next night at midnight, 81 people crammed into a 6-man fishing boat. We drifted out to sea for a week before landing in the Philippines. We were denied political asylum, but granted religious asylum because we had priests and nuns on board and then thus placed in a refugee camp. One of my favorite stories of the time was a daughter of a royal family asked to adopt me since my mom had 4 children and life in America would be very difficult. She visited 4 times, each time asking for me. As a child, I believed that meant I would be a princess. A royal family member came by, so I would be a princess. My mom burst my bubble recently and said that this was a high-ranking government official, not a royal family member. I still like to think that I could have been a princess. Many years later, when in college, a friend of mine translated a page from my grandfather's diary. On April 30th, 1975, my 80-year-old grandfather was making his way to the US when he heard Saigon fell to the communists. He wrote that he wept for the loss of his country, his wife, and his daughter, both of whom he buried in Vietnam. He feared he would never see his son, his other daughters, and his grandchildren again. He concluded, "Today is the day I died." I think about my clients who have shared their survival stories with me. I think of a man who was a soldier and in prison for years. He recalls waking up every morning at dawn to forced to go into the jungle to dismantle landmines. I'm sorry. Each time one goes off, he wonders which soldier will not make it back that night. And he can't sleep. And he can't sleep because the cries and screams of fellow soldiers being tortured and beaten. He recalls feeling guilty about being happy it was not his turn that night. I think of the men and women who have told me how they survived by lying beneath dead bodies of family members for days, waiting for soldiers to leave before they can get up and walk through the borders to Cambodia and Thailand. I hear these stories over and over again. I'm no longer their doctor, but a fellow refugee witnessing their pain, their suffering, and ultimately their survival. Sorry again. So on April 30th, 2020, I remember waking up and feeling so emotional. And so I wrote to the directors of CMGH, I wrote this reflection out. And I ended it with this line I wanted to share with you because I felt it was so fitting for tonight. I ended the email saying, "Today is the day to be thankful and grateful." And here we are tonight. So thank you.
Catherine, we're so grateful for you.
We are.
And we are so clearly I think we're all moved along with you. Thank you for being so vulnerable and bringing us there with you. I think we all needed to do that with you. And,
I thought I could make it through, but I thought I could.
what an amazing journey you've been on, that your family has been on. And now we get to benefit from your gifts at WJC as a faculty member, and your patients get to benefit from your story and your gifts. So thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much for honoring us with such powerful experience. And I just want you to know that you will always be our princess. Right? Princess Catherine.
I'm counting on that.
WGC royalty. Never mind high government official, you are royal.
Right? I only learned that it was not this year or last year. I was terribly disappointed. So
I just wanted to speak up and just say, Dr. Vuky, I've only seen you in person a handful of times, but you have made my graduate experience so worthwhile. I just so appreciate your energy and your enthusiasm, and I think so much of why so many of us practitioners are in this field is for a reason. I just want to say I'm just so blessed and fortunate to have you as my mentor and my professor, and just so grateful for you to share your story and your family history with us.
thank you. I appreciate that.
And now we transition yet again. This evening has been everything I think we had all hoped it would be and more. Now we have our next student performer, Nicole Poulter. Nicole is a second-year student in our PsyD and clinical psychology program. When asked what she's been grateful for over the past 10 months during the pandemic, Nicole shared that she's been grateful for the emotional and social and financial support from her husband and her parents and her friends, and that despite everything going on, she feels closer to them than she ever has. So tonight she'll be performing Imagine by John Lennon. I now pass the virtual mic over to Nicole Poulter.
Hey everyone, thanks for joining us tonight. I think I echo what everyone said, it's such an honor to be here, and with creative minds everyone's sharing, I just feel really blessed to be here. So some people may not be familiar with this song, so I just wanted to highlight just a couple lines to listen for. So John Lennon wrote this song, and some of the lines go, imagine there's no countries, it isn't hard to do, imagine no possessions, imagine all the people sharing all the world. As much as I love and respect John Lennon, I want to disagree with him just a little bit, because I think what we've seen tonight is that our diversity and our backgrounds and our different experiences are really what make us such an incredible community. So as much as it may be easier, I don't think it'd be better. But I think one thing we can all kind of agree with within this song, he says, you may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. And that's something I always feel within this community, that we can dream about a better tomorrow, and we have that, and we're all working toward that, a better tomorrow for ourselves, for our patients, for our community, and our world. So I hope you enjoy it. Imagine there's no heaven. It's easy if you try. No hell below us, above us only sky. Imagine all the people living for today.
It isn't hard to do. Nothing can or die for, and no religion too. Oh, imagine all the people living life in peace. You, and they say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you'll join us, and the world will be as one. Imagine no possession. I wonder if you can. No need for greed or hunger. A brotherhood unnamed. Imagine all the people sharing all the world. You may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I'm not the only one. I hope someday you will join us, and the world will be as one. You may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. Hope someday you will join us, and the world will be as one.
Nicole!
Wow, that's incredible. Thank you so, so much, Nicole. I feel full. So I have the opportunity to share a little bit as one of the last aspects of tonight's event. So I'm going to share a little bit about Frederick Douglass. And I made a choice to share this with you for a number of different reasons. So obviously, one of the factors that has impacted us all in this country, whether you're an immigrant or a citizen, was the experience that we had on January 6th of this year, which for many of us, including myself as an immigrant to this country, was a sad and disappointing day. To witness an insurrection was quite challenging. So I found that in such moments of sadness and disappointment, especially when it comes to factors such as government and people and diversity, I find that I need to turn to the past, turn to the wisdom of the past, turn to others who have survived what we've survived and worse. And so I turned to the words of Frederick Douglass that day. Frederick Douglass, a former enslaved person who went on to become an abolitionist, who provided consultation to the US government, to presidents. His words provided me with significant perspective and hope for what we're going through. So in 1869, Frederick Douglass wrote a speech. He was asked to give a speech, and he wrote a speech that he titled Composite Nationality. And in this speech, he condemns anti-Asian racism and discrimination in the United States. So 152 years ago, the issue that one of the issues we've been talking about here tonight was being discussed and debated 152 years ago. And Frederick Douglass was asked to speak about this. He was asked to consider the benefits of Asian immigration to the US and to explore some of the challenges that might be a part of that process. So his speech comes years before the Chinese Exclusion Act in 1882. And for those of you who are not familiar with that act, the US government suspended Chinese immigration for 10 years and declared Chinese immigrants ineligible for naturalization. So I thought the words that he shared in that powerful speech, composite nationality, were words that I should share with you also. As we talk about cultural diversity, as we talk about immigration, as we talk about anti-Asian discrimination that we've experienced over the past year, I wanted us to just look back at some of his words to help us cope and to help us realize that this unprecedented and discombobulating moment that we're in has actually not been unprecedented, has happened before, and we've survived it. So he says, I'm especially to speak to you of the character and mission of the United States, with special reference to the question whether we are the better or the worse for being composed of different races of men. I have said that the Chinese will come and have given some reasons why we may expect him in very large numbers in the not so distant future. Do you ask if I would favor such immigration? I answer, I would. Would you admit them as witnesses in our courts of law? I would. Would you have them naturalized and have them invested with all the rights of American citizenship? I would. Would you allow them to vote? I would. Would you allow them to hold office? I would. I submit that this question of Chinese immigration should be settled upon higher principles than those of a cold and selfish expediency. There are such things in the world as human rights. They rest upon no conventional foundation, but are eternal, universal, and indestructible. I want a home here, not only for the Negro, not only for the mulatto, not only for the Latin races, but I want the Asiatic to find a home here in the United States and feel at home here, both for his sake and ours. Rights, wrongs, no man. If respect is had to the majorities, the fact that only 1/5 of the population of the globe is white and the other 4/5 are colored ought to have some weight and influence in disposing of this and similar questions. It will be a sad reflection upon the laws of nature and upon the idea of justice, to say nothing of a common creator, if 4/5 of mankind were deprived of the rights of migration to make room for the 1/5. All great qualities are never found in any one man, in any one race. The whole of humanity, like the whole of everything else, is ever greater than a part. Men only know themselves by knowing others, and contact is essential to this knowledge. All are needed to temper, modify, round and complete the whole man and the whole nation. We shall spread the network of our science and our civilization over all who seek their shelter, whether from Asia, whether from Africa or the Isles of the Sea. We shall mold them all, each after his kind, into Americans, Indian and Celt, Negro and Saxon, Latin and Teuton, Mongolian and Caucasian, Jew and Gentile. All shall here bow to the same law. All shall speak the same language. All will support the same government, enjoy the same liberty, vibrate with the same national enthusiasm, and seek the same national ends. Frederick Douglass.
You know what? I think everyone should unmute themselves. Let's hear the clapping. No, really, let's hear the clapping. Everyone.
A wonderful array of art and experience.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Dr. Cort. You would think that he was among us today, that he just wrote that, hot off the press. Truly, truly remarkable.
And, you know, as I've shared with Meridith and with Catherine, Dr. Vuky, there are many reasons why, and those are just brief excerpts from a very long, beautiful speech. And I encourage you all to go check it out, Composite Nationality. It really makes you think critically about what makes us, right? The utility of recognizing our uniqueness, as well as the ways in which we are very much the same. I also think it's instructive for us to recognize that this is a Black man out of slavery who's demonstrating that if you're from an oppressed group, a marginalized group, that does not negate your need to make sure that you're also attending to, supporting, fighting for other groups that are marginalized and discriminated against, that we all have a responsibility, even though sometimes because of what's happening in our own communities, we might feel like we don't have the energy to focus on others. It's really critical for us to do all of it. So I wanted to share that with you. So thank you for indulging me.
Thank you, Dr. Cort, and thank you to every single person that shared of themselves this evening. I think that this was exactly what we had all hoped it would be. I think everyone that walks away from this event tonight has a full heart and a full mind. So much to think about in terms of what was shared here this evening. And before we all leave and go our separate ways, I would love for us to take a few minutes to share what I'd love to hear. What are some of you grateful for, either about this evening or something you want to share that you've been grateful for over the past 10 months, given the world we've been living in? We'd love to hear some different voices. So perhaps the best way to do this is if you want to just type in the chat, I'd like to speak, because it might be hard for us to see if you're raising your hand. Someone just wants to say, I'd like to speak, and we'll let you speak. As we would truly love to hear your voices. Let us hear what you're grateful for.
I'm sorry, I can't even, I'm not even sure where the chat is on my iPad, so
Well,
is it
Sam,
okay if I just say?
Go ahead, Sam. Yes, speak.
So,
Sam, are you still there? Are you muted? Huh.
I think he disappeared.
Perhaps when Sam finds his way back to us, is there anyone else that would like to share something that they're grateful for or hopeful for?
Emily has her hand raised.
Emily Crane.
Hi, everyone. I just want to say thank you. This was so beautiful. And I apologize, my camera was off. I got my second dose of the vaccine, so I'm feeling really sick, but that's also what I'm thankful for, that there is hope, that there hopefully in the near future will be able to hug each other again and to embrace one another. And so I am thankful, although feverish, very thankful for this vaccine and thankful to all of you.
Thank you, Emily. Anyone else want to share anything at all that they're grateful for, hopeful for? See some people writing in the chat. Very thankful for this wonderful community. Mari Benassar. Now I have audio. Sam, you're back. Please speak to us. Tell us. Sam, are you really here? Are you joking?
I think he said he has no audio.
Oh, I have no audio. Ah, got you.
I would like to speak if that's okay.
Tina, yes.
Hi everyone, I'm Tin. I'm a first year student here, and this might be like a little cliche, but I really am thankful for everyone here at William James College. I am thankful to have Dr. Vuky as my professor, being in the Asian mental health program. I am thankful for Dr. Cort, Dr. St. Louis, for my being a star fellow right now, and all my professors, my peers this year. Like, I know it's a long list, I want to name everyone, but like, I was just saying this the other day that I have never felt so confident and so blessed about my decision to come to William James College. Like, the past year has been difficult, but I am so happy. Like, it's like every time talking about it, I feel like I'm going to cry or something. It's just, there's nothing to express my joy. Like, it's just amazing how everyone here is so supportive. I never feel judged. Like, I could literally anyone pick one person and I could tell them my life story right there and then. Like, I won't feel ashamed. I could reveal like all my struggles. Like, okay, professional boundary, I know that, but like it's like, but that's just how comfortable I am. And I really can't wait to meet everyone in person. And that's something too, I haven't even met you guys yet. Like, I know you guys over screen, and we know about strangers on internet right now, but no, I just really want to just say thank you. I'm so grateful, and I'm ready for my journey here with all of you guys.
We appreciate you, and we don't actually exist beyond our necks, by the way. It's just
Tin, I loved your comments, and we're looking forward to meeting you in 3D too, but I'm so glad that you're feeling so warm and held by our community in this two-dimensional world that we're living in right now. So good, mission accomplished. Wonderful. Anybody else?
At the risk of being that stranger on the internet, I would just like to acknowledge what an extraordinary community that the many individuals here in our learning community have pulled together over time and under extraordinary circumstances, and the really visionary faculty and the really extraordinarily promising students that we have here who have decided to kind of cut against the grain of division and rancor and instead double down on inclusion and communication, and at least at this point, virtual hugs, but in due time. So thank you for the great gift that all of you are.
I would like to speak. I'm Eileen. I'm an alum I am thankful that I'm breathing and that good things can still happen in this crazy pandemic. Thankful for all the new things I've learned. Thankful for my 2-year-old. Most importantly, I'm speaking because I want to say I am very thankful for Catherine. So Catherine used to be my supervisor. Shelley Robbins pushed me into doing an internship at South Cove, and lo and behold, that was probably one of the best things that ever happened to me. So I'm thankful for Catherine for being such a wonderful supervisor and now a really good friend. And I think the two of us have talked more in this last 10 months than we have ever done in like the last 6 years. And hearing her story today made me feel really grateful that she's in my life and that she's really, really special. So Catherine, thank you. And to everybody else, I hope you guys enjoy the vaccine. Dose 1 is great. Emily, I'm sorry that dose 2 is terrible. And now I know to take the day off when I get dose 2.
Thank you.
I know I'm going to sound a bit cheesy, but I would like to, my journey of even understanding who I am and understanding the community around me only started 5 years ago. And it's honestly because of Christine. And I know that, of course, as a boyfriend, of course I'm going to say that, but that's the truth. That really is the truth. 5 years, like when I came to this country, I honestly didn't think racism was a thing, right? Because I came, I was born in India, but I grew up in a country called Kuwait, and it's just that we had other things that we were just thinking about, right? And coming here, I was like, we're fine. Like there's no such thing as racism, right? I grew up in New York, and I'm 30 now. Only 5 years ago did I realize this was really a thing, and this was only because of like all the things on the daily basis that Christine would tell me. I was like, no, this is not a thing. Like, why are you so obsessed about this, right? Then as time and as progression and as conversations went, I was like, wow, that makes sense. This is why that person did this thing years ago. This is why I felt this way years ago, right? And through our conversations, we have tried. I've been like piggybacking off like her activism, and today in my company, we started our ERG group and our Asian Pacific inclusion, where I'm the leader of, started today. So I was like, okay, all right, cool. Thank you.
Sam, we're thankful that you got your audio back so you could share that.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Please, is there anybody else that would like to share?
I needed to unmute, but I just want to thank all the people who made this event possible, because we can talk the talk about being part of a community, but it's events like tonight that really highlight. So thank you, Meridith. Thank you, Natalie. Thank you, Catherine. And thank you for all of the amazing contributions from the students.
Thank you, Joan. Mari.
I just wanted to, I want to echo that, how grateful I am for this community. I think I'm saying what a lot of people are verbalizing. And as I'm grateful for each person in a way, I do want to extend a very special thank to Catherine. Dr. Vuky, you are an outstanding human being, an outstanding addition to our team. Had the pleasure of meeting Catherine 20 years ago, more, something like that, abuse. So I am very grateful for that, and beautiful event, by the way, beautiful.
Dr. Benassar. Anybody else want to share?
Just jump in and go very quickly. This is Kamadli. I'm sorry I'm not showing my face. It's been a really long day for me, so I'm a scary sight. Nevertheless, I just wanted to take a moment to truly appreciate this wonderful community that has been my home for the past 5 years. I'm so thankful for CMGMH, all the wonderful faculty members that are present today, and my colleagues, and the amazing and talented students that have so much to offer, whether it be through arts expression or just their clinical skills. I'm so thankful and beyond grateful for that. And specific to our collective experience, whether it be with issues with at the national level or just facing the pandemic, I think one of the things that I've found that's been really an anchor for me is self-discovery in the midst of all the challenges and resilience. So I'm very thankful for these parts of myself that I'm discovering each new day as I face the day-to-day challenges that has become a reality. So thank you for putting this together. Dr. Vuky, Dr. Cort, the Dean of Students Office, Meridith, Josh, everyone, you guys are so amazing. And thank you so much for making my experience at WJC such a wonderful one.
Thank you, Kamadli. Thank you for being you. Amazing. Anybody else? Jill.
I just wanted to very quickly just say what a remarkable group of students, the talents, really extraordinary. And I'm continually just amazed at how diverse and versatile, and it really, we truly are a community, and my wonderful, wonderful colleagues. So thank you all. This was really a remarkable evening.
So as we start wrapping up tonight, I just want to jump in and share, ditto everything that everyone else said. I'm so grateful for our students for continuing to inspire me and energize me and stimulate my own growth. So I appreciate all of you. And I also just want to give a shout out to friendship, and in many cases for me at WJC, sisterhood also. Dr. Vuky, I accompany Dr. Vuky on the phone on her drive home most days. Is one of the funniest people that I've ever met. And Meridith, when we were in person, I usually would scare Meridith by really subtly hitting her door and then jumping out on a daily basis. Meridith, you've been such a wonderful, delightful, empowering friend, and I appreciate you. Dr. Benassar, Dr. Bloom, Dr. St. Louis, so many others. We are very lucky as a faculty at William James College to have each other. Dr. Kinscherf, we're so blessed to have really, really deeply caring people, deeply generous people who continue to make this a really wonderful place to be and to work. So I am really grateful for all of you.
Dr. Cort, I'm gonna echo all that you just said. Incredibly grateful for this community for so many reasons. And I also just wanted to add, there was a theme that I heard throughout the evening around breath. Our alum, Eileen, said she was thankful that she is breathing. And Ashley in her song said, and it feels like it's getting hard to breathe. And Tutu, in her poem, talked about taking in oxygen and releasing a breath of gratitude. I really latched on to that line, releasing a breath of gratitude. I have to say, I myself, more than ever before, am grateful for every healthy breath, every healthy, full breath that I can take. So perhaps as we close out this evening together, if we all just take in a big collective, healthy breath of gratitude for being a part of this glorious community and for being alive today to share this moment together. Let us all take a collective breath of gratitude. Yeah. Thank you all so much for being here tonight. Enjoy the rest of your Thursday evening, everyone.
Thank you.